everybody, welcome back to From the Crow's Mouth, a video podcast hosted by yours truly, Mitch Cumming, lead singer, lead vocalist, creator, songwriter, etc. of the band Stone Cold Crows, and this is the first episode of the podcast in 2022. Now, luckily for me, my voice is back to normal because I just got over a lengthy battle with our good friend COVID-19 and the latest strain, the Omicron. Wasn't a lot of fun. I'll talk a little bit about that experience in this episode because it is the beginning of a new year, but also doesn't really feel like it, at least where we are. Restrictions announced again, and here we are 2 years later, still in the same boat it seems. But we're still going to do a lot of great things this year. We're not going to let this virus hold us down now, are we? So, before we do that, as usual, we're going to sip on something tasty. And today, I'm sipping on a pre-prohibition classic, the Gin Rickey, really simple. And for this year's episodes of this podcast, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a drink every podcast. That's not new. But I'm going to, each month, use a different liquor as the basis. And we're going to do some recipes with the same kind of liquor. So this month, GINuary, we're going to be doing gin drinks. So if you're a gin fan, I'm really excited to show you a couple, and we're going to be adding some new things to the Stone Cold Crows repertoire while we deal with, yet again, loss of employment and income and all that fun stuff, shows. I'm going to talk about all that and how, once again, we have to adapt our plans a little bit, but we are going to move forward. So as we move forward, and I'll talk about that, and I'll talk about last year, which was the first year this band ever existed. That's what we're going to do. It's kind of like a New Year's resolution and reflection kind of episode, and tell you what's coming up next. But let's sip on a Gin Rickey and ring in the new year with an old timeless classic. So I'll show you how to make one, and then we'll talk. Hey guys, on today's Rock and Roll Bartender segment of the first episode of From the Crow's Mouth of 2022, a video podcast hosted by yours truly, Mitch Cumming, I'm going to show you how to make a really simple but timeless classic gin drink, the Gin Rickey. Now this drink came from the late 1800s. It was originally made with bourbon, but about a decade later there was a lot of different variations, and the gin version with lime juice turned out to be the most popular of them all, and it's been considered a classic. And I'm making this drink today because I just finished reading The Great Gatsby, an American classic by Francis Scott Key Fitzgerald. And there's a segment in that book where they're all sitting around drinking Gin Rickeys, and I just really wanted one because of that. This drink's really simple, and it's going to be the first of gin drinks for the month of GINuary. So what I'm going to do for this podcast for the rest of the year is each month I'm going to take a classic cocktail ingredient. So this month it's going to be gin, and I'm going to make a bunch of different recipes using that ingredient. So buckle up if you're a gin fan. This is going to be fun, and we're going to start with a simple one today, but deliciously refreshing, and it's a classic for a reason. So you're going to need gin. Today I'm using Tanqueray's Rancor Lime. Now this is a lime-based drink, so lime gin just goes hand in hand with that. Lime juice, if you can do it freshly squeezed, always better, but as you know from watching this podcast, for simplicity's sake, I always just use store-bought stuff and club soda. And that's realistically all you're going to need aside from, ice, a highball, and of course some lemon wheels for garnish. So, really simple. You're just going to take, now the recipe typically calls for 1.5 ounces, but you know me, I like to make things a little stronger, so I'm going to do 2 ounces. 2 ounces of gin. 1 ounce of gin. We're going to do 1 ounce of lime juice. And you just top it with club soda. And of course, chuck in a couple of lime wheels there. Garnish. give it a little stir. There you go. Simple, sweet, effective, delicious. The Gin Rickey, going all the way back to pre-prohibition times, folks. So cheers, and we will see you on the music part of the podcast. Okay, we're back, and everybody's got a Gin Rickey to ring in the new year with me a few days after the actual new year began. But if you're watching this in Ontario, today's the first day that we're back into lockdown number A7B45 or whatever it is. I know I'm getting kind of sick of losing my source of income. It's been a long couple of years. The first day that I was supposed to go back to work after having missed 2 weeks being down and out with COVID, they made that announcement, and so looks like I'll be taking a bit longer than I thought. Speaking of which, I don't know if anybody out there has had a bout with COVID-19. I know there's a lot of people that don't believe it's anything more than a cold. And I can tell you from at least my experience, that's not true. I don't think I've ever been more sick in my adult life. It was not a pleasant experience to go through. I didn't even get out of bed for probably the first 6 days. So anybody out there dealing with that, or who's had, loved ones dealing with it, I feel for you. It's not a good time. I'm thankful that it didn't give me any respiratory problems, at least serious ones. But I do know a few people who've passed or lost people to this virus. And so I hope that this year, 2022, it's the last one that we have to be talking about this. But it is a reality. And it is part of, the shutdowns, and the music industry has been hit really hard. The entertainment industry in any way has been hit hard. Any, travel, tourism, the bar and restaurant industry, which these are all the industries that I have big work experience. It's been, people ask, when's the new music coming out? Or when do you get, when are you doing shows? Or do you have a band ready? Or what are we, it's not easy in a band of two people that don't live in the same city to pay for, music production and artwork and merch designs and targeted advertising or anything really, just to try and get a band any traction when you can't perform live. And the way that we formed this band was that we were going to eventually bring in other musicians, so we didn't have too many cooks in the kitchen to compromise our artistic vision. Given that I play most of the instruments in the studio, Bryson does drums. He does a lot of work with vocal harmonies, and of course with our producer Adam, we sit together collectively, the three of us, and program the orchestration. So we were offered shows this past year, and while it would have been great to say, yeah, let's play some shows, we don't have a full band, and we don't actually have enough material written to just fill an hour set. And people are saying, well, why don't you just put it together? Well, it's not really exactly how the writing process for this band works, because we go into the studio with the demos, the skeletons of these songs that I've written, and while we might have more ideas, all the stuff that makes Stone Cold Crows what it is, aside from just being a hard rock band or metal, depending on how you want to define us, I personally don't really like doing that, because those definitions seem to move all over the place depending on familiarity or your definition of what metal is versus rock is. So I'm just going to say hard rock. But the orchestration, that part, we can't just do on the fly. We have to sit there and do it in the studio so that we can play around with different instruments and different textures and sounds and say, that's what we want the song to sound like. And to do that on the fly and just slap a couple of guys together in a room with guitars and say, here, we'll just make it up, Doesn't work that way. So the material has to be done and recorded before we can play it live. And that all has to be played once we do go live. That's going to have to be done with a click track. So while I would love to say, hey guys, we got some live shows already set up, realistically, we're a little ways off from doing that. And it is part of the plan for 2022. Fingers crossed. And so that's kind of what this episode is going to be a little bit about, is I wanted to talk about, some of our plans for this year. And again, if you are familiar with the story of how we started this band last year and got everything going, there were numerous times where we were forced to adapt to the ever-changing music industry and the environment of what's open, what's not, how much money do we have coming in, because loss of income was regular. And we have tried to circumvent that problem by getting merch designs out there on the web with our store. So anybody that does want to support the band, even though we can't play live for you yet, you can pick up a t-shirt or a hat or something, or even just a digital purchase of our album, Original Sin Part 1, because we do look for ways to try and get back to the studio as soon as possible, because Original Sin Part 2 is written without the orchestra parts. Technically, it's written. And we're really excited because it is going to level up what we think we did on the first one. We are really excited. We've got some new tools at our disposal, and so that's part of the plan as well. So 2022, what's going down with Stone Cold Crows is we got new music on the way, and we got to get our asses back into the studio a few more times. And if it means, because we keep losing income and we're not getting it right and we can't play shows as quickly as possible and develop the live show that we want to do. We've been compared to Alice Cooper a few times, and it's funny that comparison was made, because we have some plans for what kind of stage show we want to bring with this kind of music, and it will not just be 4 or 5 guys with some guitars standing on a stage. That's all I'm going to say for now, but we have big ideas, and we're not in any rush to jump into anything until we can deliver what we want to. So slow and steady burn for this candle, but once it's ready to go, we're excited to deliver what we think our vision can be. So that's 2022. We want to get a band together, hopefully, once this is all over. But we're gonna get back and do some more music, and we have new music already recorded. Should be receiving the master pretty soon, and so you can look forward to that this coming winter in 2022. And hopefully we get back in there and keep, if we have to do it one song at a time, then we will do it one song at a time. If that's all we can afford, doesn't matter. We've got it. We're coming out, and we're coming out swinging, because we need to have that material ready for when we can play live, and then we'll build our set list around that. And when the time comes, we will be looking for probably a bass player and probably a couple lead guitar players as well. So if you're interested and you're in the Ottawa region or anywhere that is traversable from that region, keep in touch, because when we start looking, we're going to start looking. So there will be some job vacancies coming up. Realistically, the other stuff that I wanted to talk about was just last year, and how great it was with everything that did go wrong, that we still managed to almost hit 50,000 streams for our debut album, where it's very difficult to get anyone to pay attention or give two shits about your music when you've never played live. And you can't go out and socialize with people and talk about music, and the only thing you've got is, here's us on Facebook or Instagram, please give it a listen. And you've got your own friends that 5 months into your band haven't even heard your music yet. They've heard you talk about it, and they're probably sick of hearing you talk about it, but they haven't. So for everyone who actually has, and helped us get some of those reviews that we got, some international airplay and recognition and everything, that has gone wrong in this world in a little bit, at least we got some traction, and we are excited to move forward, and we're going to keep trying to build on that. So if you know somebody who might like the music, share it. I know we've got a few people out there that haven't. We've definitely tried our hand at some targeted ads, and well, apparently the target was a little off the mark, but that is part of the game. Not everybody's going to like what you're doing, and if everybody does, well, you're probably doing something wrong, because last time I checked, not everybody likes the same thing. So with that, I guess, guys, I'm just going to leave you, because 2022 is going to be this year that we already started off on the wrong foot, but we are going to trudge through that snow, and we're going to move forward with whatever we have, because this is something that we really believe in. This project is it was born out of something that we both believed in, and you don't really know how much longer you're going to have to do the things that you want to do in life. And at the very least, if we can look back and say, this is the music that I wanted to make, this is the music that I like myself, and do it well, then you got something to be proud of. And right now we're really proud of it, and we got some artwork that we're proud of, and we're building some new things. And I can't tell you about everything that's in the works right now, because that would spoil the surprise, but we are moving full steam ahead in every way that we can. So even if it takes a little longer than we'd hoped, we're still going. So cheers to 2022, and hopefully we can continue off the success of 2021. And I hope everybody out there is healthy and safe, and I hope that your 2022 is filled with something that you're looking forward to as well. And yeah, as usual, guys, you heard it here first, straight from the crow's mouth. Dare to be different, create cool shit, and cheers, and we'll see you next time.